Okay, so I'm gonna show you what I did again. Installed a fuel heater in my vehicle, and I have the foil is just to wrap the heat around the copper, around the rubber hoses. So no more rubber hoses. Put this is the intake. The inline fuel. So this is fuel coming from the gas tank. If you have a straight fuel inline from the tank and it goes straight to the manifold, it's not an issue. Some have a return, and if you have to block the return, or when it returns back to the tank, it'll come in hot. You have to go over the and I'll tell you in a little bit afterwards, go to where the evap sensor is and make sure that the evap sensor, instead of just throwing the hot fuel into the air, it puts it back into the intake with a check line, inline check. Some of them have it like trucks that have a return to the tank and then an evap to the air. But if the evap goes to the air, you got to make sure that the evap returns back into the actual intake, and there's an inline check valve in before it returns back. Anyway, so that is the and like I said, from the tank, and then it goes through here, and I just put that there to release the pressure because the fuel is hot, and I'll show you that it comes out hot. I just came back from a trip, and I will show you that it's hot, and I mean hot. Give me a second. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fuel vapors. As you can see, the engine is off. So it's literally just the heat that's in there. That is the heat that is in there, and it gets hot because this line goes through this copper line, and this copper line goes, and I'll show you in a second. Okay. Copper line goes. You can see that foil wrapped back then, that oxygen sensor, where that foil is the catalytic converter. If you understand, that's after the oxygen sensor. The first one, so that's the manifold. You see the pipe sticking out from the exhaust. That's the catalytic converter. Okay, now in that foil, that very copper. Okay, that very copper pipe right there goes around and wraps around it. So okay, so I'm gonna show you how to wrap that copper tubing around the exhaust manifold, or the catalytic converter. So where the catalytic converter lies, where you saw the catalytic converter, the only way to wrap it is by doing this. So I'm gonna put this here somewhere. me see. Okay, so just like do that real quick. Okay, so where this lies right here, okay, it starts out, and just take it out of the bag or whatever it is, and then you have to pass this subject. Hold on. Okay, so just unwrap it, and then you grab this, and if this were the catalytic converter, you just wrap it, and then you start going like this, wrapping it around like this, and then you come up from the bottom like this. So what I do, so you have to extend it all outwards. So you have to extend it all outwards like that, okay? And then just, as you extend it, keep going, and then you do this. You wrap it around, you go in to the top. As you come in, you just stick it in like that, and this is stationary. You just wrap it in like that, and you keep pulling it. You keep pulling it and pulling it and pulling it like this, and then it'll start wrapping around, and it'll start like this, and you just keep going like this, and then coil it. Start coiling it like that, and then you just start coiling it and coiling it and coiling it, and keep coiling it like that, and you just keep pulling it. Okay, you just keep straightening it. You keep straining that. Make sure that strains out, and then you keep coiling it around, because you're from the bottom. If you're in the bottom of the vehicle and you're wrapping it around, you're just gonna keep pulling it and wrapping it around like that until you get enough wraps, and it has to be close contact. Okay, after you wrap it around, okay, after you wrap it around, hold on. Okay. Alright. That's good. Alright. Now, after you wrap it around many times, and you get, it to go around many times, you wrapped foil around it. So you just get normal foil like this. I get the very thick kind. You can use heavy duty, and like that. Just get normal, and you just wrap it around. Now you could grab it and fold it out, and then make a thick sheet. And then fold it around. So whatever way you find best, pretty much. So it's send it outwards. Okay. So once you have a big piece like that, let's say this is a folded in half. Okay. So it could be larger than this. It could be like from here way over there. So it could be a 20-foot piece, right? And then after you have it, you fold that in half. So this is 20 feet. This is 20 feet. This is a 20-foot piece. This is a 20-foot piece, okay? You just grab it, and then you can leave it like this if it's really big, or if it's short, where you wrapped it, just fold it properly, just leave it long, and then go like this. 10 feet. This is 10 feet. Fold it again. 5 feet long. So this 5 feet. Now you grab this 5 feet piece and then just fold it around like that. So that way the copper doesn't expose to the air and doesn't cool down when you're running down the road. okay, and that's it. After you wrapped it around and you've done that, it's that simple. To get a better example, because you can't see it from there, let me see if I can get trying to, so you can understand what I'm saying, because it's covered in foil wrap, and I don't want to like unwrap it other than that. So, this is a bad example, but it's a bad example. Try to get underneath. Okay, so this is a good example. So you see that? How it's like circular? That's a catalytic converter. You have to grab that copper pipe I showed you and wrap it around. So you see this shroud? You just have to take the bolts out and then just grab. And this is perfect because the shroud will cover the pipe and keep in. You can use foil, just normal foil, like what you saw in there. That's just normal foil from you know, you used to wrap food, like, you know, and then wrap the wrap the copper line around it. It could be a 50-foot 1/4 inch, okay, 6 millimeter 1/4 inch copper pipe, like the ones they use in heat and air, and you can find them at Lowe's. It's just quarter tubing, copper tubing, 1/4 inch copper tubing, and just wrap it around and then grab foil and then cover it, and then that's it. It's that simple. Okay, I just showed you the 1/4 inch copper pipe again. That one, just simple 1/4 inch, and yes, it will handle the heat. Okay, once the fuel goes through that's cold fuel. That is cold fuel. This one's kind of probably warm. Once the fuel goes through, it'll cool the pipe down and keep it from cracking. But there has to be fuel through it at all times. Okay, even if it gets hot, it'll keep the pipe from cracking. It is the same thing with air conditioning. Air conditioning lines can get very hot, but because there's something in them absorbing that heat, they don't crack, even if it's very hot. So afterwards, that pipe will go all the way around and it'll come across here. As you can see, this is that 1/4 inch copper pipe. It's covered in insulation because it was getting, you can see it's in there. That's what that is right there. There's a better look at it. It's right there. Okay, it goes all the way around. I just got around. You don't have to do that around, just go through the back, and it goes back into this, and then it goes into this thing, and that's another part of the main part. And you can choose whether you go through the block, and it's a block, okay, if you want to. That's a oil cooler from a Volkswagen Audi. So you can see the 4 little circles in the Volkswagen. It's an oil cooler / heat exchanger. It's a 40 plate. They sell 40 plate. There's also some that are copper braced. Heat exchangers, and it's water to oil heat exchangers, and in this case you're heating fuel, gasoline or ethanol. And when ethanol and gasoline are hot, they work the best. It works also on diesel. Now if you want to go through that block first and then go through the copper pipe, you can get it even hotter technically, or you can go the way I showed you now, and it cools it down. It gets the fuel so hot that the engine freaks out, because the exhaust is so clean that the engine will sputter because there's no oxides. So it cleans up the oxides, gives you a 50% plus more miles per gallon and 50% more horsepower. I am not joking you. It is insane. Okay, now as you see in the rear, you see that pipe that goes straight through it. There's one, and then there's that other down there. You see that one? Okay, there's that one, and then there's that one. Those are coolant. Now go straight through. If you have a diesel, an EGR cooler or something, you can see that there. Okay, that goes into it, and then the line that I told you where the copper is right here goes straight into it. Okay, now you could put it first through the first through the block heat exchanger, and then through the copper, so you can get it hot with the coolant water, and then through the copper pipe, so it gets even hotter. Because once you pass it through the copper pipe through the exhaust, it gets really hot, and the coolant will cool it down. Okay, so, and then afterwards, the line goes all the way around, and believe me, this will handle the heat. But you have to use these. You have to use these. These are stainless steel, and tells you which kind. These are the only ones I use that actually work. Okay, these are the only ones that actually work. These are ideal, ideal Trident stainless, and you can use this is barbed connector, but the fittings barbed connector. Okay, these also have here to release the pressure is a three-way. Okay, and I used a three-way that goes into the plastic pipe here, and then it goes all the way in, and then it tightens it with this, because that way it doesn't come out, and it works. Hey, tranquilota. Show you. It's a lot of these kind of quarter-inch. You see that one there? This I got a doorman, and you can get them on eBay as well, and sometimes Amazon if you get one. Also has barbed connectors. Those are okay if you use them for that. It has to be hot fuel that you're putting into your engine, and you will reduce, I'm telling you, you will reduce the oxides, increase your miles per gallon about 50%, and 50% more horsepower. So I mean, you could put, this is a 140 horsepower engine, it'll pull out close to 200. If you have 400 horsepower in your truck and you're getting 20 miles to the gallon, you'll get close to 30. Average you'll get like 27, 28, something like that, city highway combined. And you'll have like 600 horsepower to the wheels if you're getting the fuel really hot. I'm telling you, you have to wrap that copper pipe around the catalytic converter. You saw that thing back there where you saw the oxygen sensor? It's just this giant tube cylinder. That's the catalytic converter. You have to wrap it around as many times as you can, and then shroud it with copper foil. This is just copper foil. That's what that was back there, copper foil, and just wrap it around, and then pass it through there first if you want to, and get it real hot, or pass it through the block heat exchanger, and I'll show you a picture of the other ones you can get on eBay. I'll show you like a link where you can get a heat exchanger to do the same thing, and then that's it. And then it goes to here. This is the manifold, the injection manifold. See, those are the injectors right there, and this gets really hot. And you saw how hot it was, and I'll show you again if you want me to, how hot it is, to show you that it is hot, that normal fuel don't do that. And I'll show you in a second. Trying to figure out how to like can't get it around. You see that? Just vapors, pure vapor, ignitable, explosive, only outside. Okay, gasoline is a refrigerant. When it's hot and it comes out, it instantly vaporizes. So if you ever have a leak and the engine stops, the hot fuel will instantly vaporize, keeping the engine from catching fire. I can't say the same thing for liquid fuel. Liquid fuel will sit in your engine and catch fire if somebody lights it or if there's an electrical short. But because the fuel is hot, because it's instantly vaporized, it vaporizes straight into the air, keeping an accident like an engine fire from happening. You see those vapors coming out of it? Inside, because they're under pressure, they stay liquid. Okay, it's a refrigerant. Inside the line, because they're super hot, they stay liquid, like a refrigerant. Like in a heat pump, they stay liquid. Once they hit the manifold and they get sprayed into the inside, it turns into a mist. But at that point, the cylinder takes that mist and that vaporized fuel and some of the liquid drops you saw, puts them inside the tank, or not inside the tank, inside the cylinder, and then ignites them. And don't listen to what other things are saying right now. I've been looking up too much with Elon Musk and stuff. So just ignore them. And once they're inside the cylinder, and you gotta pardon me with what I'm saying, but if it's what you choose to believe at this point. But you get what I'm telling you. Once they're inside the manifold, it's not gonna matter. Like, if you understand what I'm saying. But I shown you that again. Want me to show you that it's hot. Oh, it's hot. And the engine is off. The engine is off. That's hot fuel. Or also come up like a stream. I'll show you. Okay, so that works. Another thing that I encountered, okay, and that's if some engines have problems with it because the air is so clean. And I'll show you where you can get there is, especially if you use flex fuel. If you use ethanol E85 and your car is not meant for it, there's a way to bypass it by getting a and I'll show you the link in the picture, a flex fuel chip that lets you use flex E85 on your engine. Now, there is a cheaper form that I found that works, and I use this. You don't have to use this if you don't want to. It works without it. But if you ever have problems with your vehicle, and my vehicle, this one at least, was having problems. My 2007 Chrysler Town and Country was getting 16 miles to the gallon. I got 27 afterwards, after just putting a copper tubing around the exhaust manifold, and it worked fine without it. This is a hybrid. And because it's a hybrid, the engine runs a little different. I think the computer self-learns and is trying to change the variables inside the actual fuel maps by physically tampering with them through the signals and stuff like that. And that's the reason why it'll start freaking out, or even like turn your for me, it was starting to sputter really bad because the oxygen sensor won't sense any oxides, because it was just oxygen coming off the tailpipe because it was cleaner and everything. And it works good, especially with E85. And it was saying, oh yeah, but it might run it leaner, because it burns cleaner, especially if you use ethanol. And I recommend using ethanol, especially like E85 if you got it. E10 works good. Ethanol, when it's hot, actually works better on an engine, and it cleans it up because there's extra oxygen in the chain molecule of ethanol, and there's also extra water in ethanol that makes up the difference for the actual cylinder not running dry. So anyway, this is a Volo that I use, and this is you can use it for ethanol tuning. You can get ethanol tune chips that they're worth like $1,000. This I only paid $100 for, but you can get $1,000 genuine ethanol chip for that don't have ethanol in it if you want to. Okay, and I'm about to show you the link for the other things. Okay, just recorded and it wasn't to show you that it works. That's my overall fuel mileage, 46.2, and that is my second trip, 53.7, and it's a lot worse than what it used to be. I think the computer self-learns and tries to adjust because it goes to the more richer fuel map. I was using the Volo and it worked because when I was putting it through the copper pipe last and the heat exchanger first, it was getting like 72 miles to the gallon city and 50 to 60 highway, but in the highway it would start to spurt because the exhaust was so clean that the oxygen sensors won't sense oxides and it freak out. I put the Volo and it worked. Now I have the same problems with ethanol. If you use ethanol on a vehicle and you heat the fuel, the ethanol has extra oxygen content. It'll trip the ethanol, and it will do the same thing with gas either way. It would start tripping out because the exhaust was just clean, and when I put the vol chip, it kind of like kept it from spurting. But the fuel map still needs to be adjusted for the C-Max, the fuel map on the C-Max. So I'm not saying it right, but I was getting 60 miles to the gallon just with the heat exchanger of the coolant, and I was getting about 60 with the heat exchanger of the coolant, and I was getting almost like probably combined city highway about 52, 54. I was getting that city highway combined, and for some reason I'm getting 46 now, but I think that's got something to do with the fact that I have extra ethanol in the line, because I'm running about, I think, E20 or E25. That might be the reason why, but it works perfectly. And before I was getting 37, 36, I think like 42 or 44, and it didn't have near the power that it had, and the computer is a problem. So, and it'll on the newer cars. On the older cars, not so much, because there's two types of computer. There's dumb and smart computers. Dumb computers just calculate based on sensor data. Smart computers will self-adjust based on the way the engine runs due to RPMs, horsepower, and a bunch of different things. As you can see, this thing has like EV, and then it's got the kilowatts on, when it turns on, like, hold on, wait to the it's filling up, hold on. There you go. The thing had filled up. It needed to fill up the line. It smells like oxides right now, but once it heats up, it won't do that. It only turned that on. Hold on. There you go. There you go. Now it's gone. Well, the engine light came on for that reason, but just give it a second. Once you wipe the, it won't do that normally. If it does, it's only because I tried turning it on and one there. But anyway, so just clear the sensor codes, and then afterwards it won't trip. It's only because there wasn't any fuel in the line. So if the line is empty when you install everything, if the line is empty, so when you install everything, and once you install everything, the line will be empty. There'll be nothing in there, right? So when you turn the car on, the line will prime itself. So the fuel has to fill the line. Once it's filled the line and has been primed by the fuel pump, then the car will start. If not, you'll be sitting there cranking it, and it'll trip a engine light code, like there's no fuel in the line. But once you do that, it'll just turn on, and that's not an issue. Yeah, so now the wrench thing came on. I don't know what the hell's going on with the wrench thing, but anyway, it realized why the engine light came on. I didn't put my there you go. So if the wrench don't come on, yeah, the wrench didn't come on this time. Okay, don't worry about the engine light. The engine light, I didn't connect the map sensor on the vehicle. There's a map sensor. I didn't connect the map sensor, so that's good.